Brodes Media.
I'm chilling. Howie told us exactly how this was going to go. I need patience. It's going to take some time. Milton Williams just got paid to be Jaylen Carter. I love Milton Williams. We should all love Milton Williams. He doesn't do what Jaylen Carter does. The money getting thrown around right now is insane. This was always going to be how it went. Okay, imagine this. I give you 4 apples. Okay? Follow me. And I say, yo, in 3 months, I'm going to take away 3. And then 3 months come, and you're freaking out that I'm taking 3 when I told you it was going to be this way. Does that make sense? The Eagles are going to be at the top of the NFC. They are going to draft extremely well. They are going to get creative with some one-year deals. Zach Bond. There's a lot of big names available. Veterans at the pass rush position. You also need some help with the DT unless they really appreciate Jalen Carter. They really feel good about a Jomo, which there's numbers around saying when a Jomo is out there. See, here's the luxury of a Jaylen Carter. Others survive and others eat when Jaylen Carter and his presence is swallowing up space. There are men who are able to get to the quarterback 3, 4, 5 times more per season to register a damn sack because of what 98 does. That's the difference. While the Patriots are paying him to do the same, it actually makes me wonder if the Panthers, who got Brown the third instead, if they made out better, got him from the Rams, 3 years, 21 mil. I did a Bleacher Report NFL free agency crazy window thing today. It was unbelievable. It was a billion of us, and every couple of hours we switch, and it was 24/7 coverage. It was outstanding. And one of the things brought up is you could tell the Panthers shifted from their first plan, their plan A, and had to go plan B real quick. And I mentioned, but that may end up benefiting them. Because what if you can get 2 extra players with the same money you would apply to Milton Williams, and maybe Milton Williams gets a couple more sacks this season and brings more pressure through the interior. But if you're missing out on those 2 extra players due to the compensation, the Panthers may actually end up on top. I can't be spending that type of bread for Milton Williams. And where did you get Milton Williams, by the way? Mid-round? Where did you get Josh Sweat, by the way? Mid-rounds? Go look at those comp picks. This is what you do when you're well-run. You brought back Zach Bond. Josh Sweat goes to play with the worst head coach to ever exist, Jonathan Gannon. I don't know. I just think I'm out in my backyard getting work done. I'm out front, maybe giving Brooklyn some fresh air. I'm going to the gym. I'm not thinking about how this team lost bodies today. I'm looking at it with this mentality of I can't wait to see what Howie Roseman does to put together a fantastic roster, because that's going to happen. It is such a lock, it's ridiculous. It's just going to take a certain path to get there. One that he warned you about. One that he stated may be unconventional. I think he looked at a lot of these names flying around town and he recognizes, I am not going to be given that type of checkout. It doesn't benefit you. These numbers are getting out of this world. And while I understand the cap is rising as well, there are better ways to maximize your cap space availability. Even with one of the savviest technicians in the world when it comes to playing the numbers game. Even he doesn't feel there's value in structuring it a certain type of way. And probably rightfully so. So the fact that they're, quote, quiet, even though they did bring back what everybody would have deemed the most important dude on the roster, the all-pro linebacker, I can't forget that. He did do that, right? He did do that. The Mekhi Becton one is fascinating because he's still out there. And was it Tim McManus earlier in the day mentioned, now this was early. This was probably early afternoon. But there was a comment made on Twitter about how they were not coming to agreement. Or they were not getting on the same trajectory. Let me see. I know I bookmarked it. This is about Washington. Yeah, we'll get into Washington. Okay, here's Tim McManus. There has not been significant movement towards a new deal between the Eagles and offensive line Mekhi Becton at this point, from what I gather. He has a key advocate in Jeff Stoutland and would like to return, but money has to be right on both sides. Okay, so this was 11:50, 10 minutes before free agency even started, or the legal tampering period even started. I like the idea of getting him in here and even pushing him out the tackle whenever Lane Johnson decides his career is over and he hangs up the cleats. That's my long view here. But we'll see what ends up happening. All right, so did I expect Isaiah Rodgers to go? Maybe not. Maybe I thought that they would prioritize Isaiah Rodgers. Instead, he goes to Minnesota, knowing that Slay was most likely on his way out. Everything that transpired on social media told me everything I needed to know. And then CJ, GJ, and Slay both had their booth next to one another. You could see it in CJ, GJ's face. He was pissed. And it's funny, he was hiding behind that keyboard because he was willing to talk that smack. But it seemed Darius Slay was just being him, being the goofball, smiling, signing helmets, and nothing was even affecting him whatsoever. CJ GJ was in his feels big time. I'm just telling you what I saw based off the body language. My man was not thrilled. And yeah, I mean, when that was all happening, it was probably because Slay realized where he was. No matter if he was saying on his pod that it was between us and it was between the Detroit Lions and he would love to come back here. Hey, he's going to Pittsburgh. I think he saw the writing on the wall. So I figured Slay would be gone, but Isaiah Rodgers maybe could have plugged in. Now there's more pressure on a Ringo. And maybe they feel very confident in a Ringo. Who's to say that Ringo isn't ready? They talked about him highly forever, and he had a cup of coffee here and there. He'd have a sip here and there. And then he also learned on the sidelines by watching Slay and even by getting to study Q, which is a big deal. Even though he's young, even though he's just getting cooking, you watch what he does on film and you watch him in practice every day and you watch him prepare for a game on Sunday week after week after week as he shuts down Terry McLaurin, as he shuts down the number one wide receivers in the league. So maybe they're right to assume that Ringo can slide in there. This is what you got to remember as well. When you saw the roster last year defensively, how did everybody assume that they would grade out? There'll probably be a middle-of-the-road defense, and the offense would carry them. And you all thought that there was still a great chance of this team succeeding. Some had them winning the division, winning the NFC, going on a Super Bowl run with an average offense. And that's what you deemed them as, and that's what you said the personnel would contribute. Well, you were off by a large margin. They were the best defense in the NFL. Me being one of them. I'm not calling anybody out, but I'm saying the judgment, the day of the tampering period starting, we got excited about Bryce Huff. This guy couldn't even dress for the Super Bowl, let alone be a part of this entire ride and be some contributor, even if it's in a lesser role than you would have anticipated after giving him that deal. But this guy couldn't even put on the pads. He had to watch with a totally different experience. Dude. And then everyone thought that the Saquon Barkley move was so crazy. Not everybody. Not everybody. That's harsh. That's intense. But there was a narrative that, me being one of them, hey, this normally goes against the Howie Roseman philosophy. Uh-oh. Is he having an identity crisis? I don't know. Is paying that much money to a running back who in New York sometimes had some things that limited what his ceiling could be on that day? Some nagging injuries. Maybe he got hurt. Maybe there was an issue with the knee. Is that smart? He was the best running back ever in NFL history if he was allowed to play the final week. That's what type of season he had. You felt good about Devin White, a veteran linebacker who at least is pure at his position. He may have got benched by Todd Bowles, but we thought, all right, at least it's a name. At least it's somebody with some credibility. Could be a veteran in the room, too, if need be. And that wasn't great. So if you wait right now and you play a different game, if you go find some savvy one-year deal type of players, again, not that I anticipate them growing into an all-pro by any means, because that's to the extreme. And do not forget you brought back Zach Bond. Do not forget you brought back Zach Bond. Do not forget you brought back Zach Bond. If that happened today, would you feel any differently? Probably, but you did that. I trust Howie Roseman to let this play out, let this ride, play the market accordingly. See, Milton Williams could have been the best defensive tackle on the market from a technicality standpoint. Is it just a weak market? I thought Josh Sweat may get a little more just based off of where the free agency money is currently, but he's still got a good chunk of change. These guys are replaceable, though. That's something that you cannot forget about. Milton Williams is a mid-round pick, and that doesn't mean he didn't overexceed expectations for maybe a third pick. Whatever it is. But the main staple is Jaylen Carter. You have that. You build around that. You have the foundation. What happens when you win a Super Bowl is, people pluck. Burks goes to Cincinnati. They probably feel good about where Zach Bond is, of course, and maybe Nakobe Dean health-wise, and maybe even Trot. Do they think Trot could step in and play that Burks role? Now, Burks ended up needing to be relied on huge late. Maybe Nakobe Dean never goes down this season after he eventually returns to the field, so he'd be okay for the backstretch. You just might need Jeremiah Trotter Jr. to step in the early wave of the season, just speaking out loud. But when you win the Super Bowl, there are going to be names that walk out that door. There are going to be people who get a lot of money, and people are going to overpay for those names.